Oh god, Nino, what happened?
Weiss stepped down.
No, really?
Yeah. I thought,
Oh my
yeah,
god.
look at the, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. That actually
Wow.
is exceptionally good. Um, you know,
Yeah, that puts, playing back in the motion, I guess.
it does. I think even if he didn't, I think us setting down a framework, I think by which people can, from the position that right now you only go up the ladder if you do the bidding of those at the top. It doesn't really make for like a DOJ that is diverse in opinion. It creates a hive mind effectively. Us having a way for magistrates to go up and blah blah blah, good thing. Why he's stepping down, that opens the door for Grayson. And I genuinely
100%.
believe that Weiss, which is interesting because I didn't know this till, he posted it, but he has a law background or whatever. I wonder if he used to be a cop.
Does?
Yeah, like look at his farewell thing. Am I reading it wrong?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, law enforcement leadership at the justice level, I feel like what he's talking about is being the marshal director, no?
okay, maybe I'm overreading it. I read that and it's
possible
like
that he's got a cop background because he's saying that. I guess what he's saying is that the reason why it was necessary for him to be a justice was because they needed a justice to be the director of the marshals at the time. And so the fact that he was a justice and had a law enforcement background was necessary, but now it's not because they have a separate marshal director.
You could be, yeah. Maybe I am overreading it or like reading too much into it.
It does potentially mean that he's got a law enforcement background.
Yeah, it almost, or that he was meant to be the advocate for the PD, which also already is kind of strange, right? But either way, we chop it up.
I didn't read that stuff. Yeah.
Either way, we chop it up. That leaves Hart, which I don't know where her mind is, but McNee actually hasn't been, unless he's manipulated. Like, it's the way I look at Faulkner. I think Faulkner is actually pretty reasonable, but can be easily swayed, right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
McNee is in the same way, and that's not a bad thing. That's a normal in San Andreas thing, like where if most people I think are easily swayed if they see if someone's very strong in their opinion and you only hear that side sort of thing.
And also especially if you feel like you don't have the same kind of background or tenure that they do. Like Falconer has, he was pushed right into the justice role, right? Like he was, that was very quick. And so I feel like he's one of those people that might be like, I trust the other justices to make decisions. I'll back them because they've got more experience.
Exactly. Or that, exactly that. This is really good.
I just think it's interesting that Weiss said that if circumstances change and allow him to dedicate more time to the duties of justice, he would be honored to return to that role. I wonder if he thinks that he's just going to like step back into it, Like depending on who's the justice is, if he's like, actually, I've got more time now. If he thinks they're just going to like be like, okay, you're back.
When I take like all the situations, I think over the past like 6 months, I think it's likely that some of the justices took on the role out of the feel of necessity.
Yeah, for sure.
And under the impression that they weren't only needed occasionally, which actually makes sense. Like, theoretically, justices should not be needed often. The problem was that they combined it with the cooked notion that they needed to be a political party. right? So it's
Right.
kind of like
Or that they're like the federal government, yeah.
exactly. So because of the damage of the Voldemort, like that.
They were just the stopgap.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. So,
No, I agree.
Yeah.
But I think that it is important to get someone else in that position in case. I mean, if Weiss does decide, like, hey, I actually want to come back, I wouldn't be surprised if he just lets the justices know, and considering all the current justices, they would just unanimously vote him back.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to Michael and have us try to get that judicial legislation stuff together. I think that's on the top of my list. That and the bar association.
Right.
And
yes, that would be nice.
I also want to start paying out lawyers. I don't know how I'm going to do it because I want to do it in a way where like people can request, like let's say they actively create legislation or do some type of measurable work. That's the key word, measurable. That they can get paid more money because right now being a lawyer, you don't get paid anything.
Right. Well,
and
for public defenders at least, I don't know if Murray told the same thing to you, but he told me to increase their pay to $3,500 per hour, and
I
and
never
he's
looked.
reimbursing it.
Oh,
At least for Blaine County. He said, Los Angeles County hasn't asked, but I'm sure if you wanted that reimbursed, either he'd have to reimburse you or he would stop reimbursing me, which would be not great, but either way. But yeah, so he told me to bring up judge salary, county clerk, and the other one, public defender, all up to $3,500 per hour. And then
I'm gonna take a look right now while you're on the line. 3,500 is okay. I would love to, in addition to this, like if someone were to take certain bigger cases to court, I almost want to pay them like
for that.
Yeah. Then again, 3,500 is also a lot because if you're constantly clocked in.
It is. Well, I was looking back at the marshals pay that we're doing, like setting them up for, and I was thinking like, oh wow, 8 marshals, and they need $900,000 weekly for salary. That's like $110,000.
Oh, they get
per
paid
week
so
per person.
much.
But then I was thinking about it, and that's at $3,500 an hour. That's like 30 hours a week.
Yeah.
Which is not crazy compared to like, what some of the cops are doing, and the cops are getting paid that much. So the cops are probably getting paid more than the marshals. Although I will say I lowered BCSO's pay.
Well, I mean, to be honest,
Look, yes, I know, I understand. I'm gonna be, to be honest with you, God, I've been doing callback interviews, and
I'm taking a look at the thing right now.
I'm definitely considering stealing your ass, Chief.
Well, that's fine. I never wanted him.
I know, but he's so in favor of the castle court idea. Like, he's so willing to do that. I think
I'm gonna impeach you for that.
For stealing your ass, Chief.
I'm kidding.
Try it.
BCSO
is probably gonna try.
Oh, of course.
I mean, I know some BCSO might try to impeach me for picking a sheriff.
Oh, of course they are. They're going to do whatever they can.
I'm dotting my I's and crossing my T's because I don't think there's anything that they can impeach me for.
No.
But it was a really weird phone call with Helen. So Helen Highwater hated me outwardly, openly, would call me a bitch on Twitter almost every day.
Yeah.
Up until like 3 or 4 days ago when the sheriff interviews started happening. And I was confused because I was like, okay, there's clearly some ulterior motive here. But she seemed nice, so I was like, okay, that's fine, whatever. And she told me at one point, like as a joke, she's like, now that we're friends, I can tell you that like a week or two ago I snuck into the castle and farted on your pillow. And I was like, okay, that's an awful thing to tell someone. Great. Love that. Um, Luckily for myself, I change my sheets every day, or I have people for that. But they're most likely it wasn't important. But then she called me last night and was like, "So who are you thinking about for sheriff?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm still, debating things and talking to people and stuff." She was being all cagey and stuff, and then she was like, "Hope you sleep well tonight." I was like, "Okay, something's weird going on." So I burnt all of my sheets, but I little suspicious about what's going on.
Um, sorry, I'm just typing something just real quick. I'm
Oh,
listening.
good.
Um, uh,
But yeah, I think the surveys are really going to shed some light on what I need to do.
all right, there we go. Um,
Nice.
did city council? I don't think we were able to increase that till
No, we
now.
couldn't. But I've increased it to 3,500 for us.
It was
Um,
850 before.
well, it was not only was it 850, but it was dependent on whether the county was in the positive or negative or whatever, right? So,
But
I
that
mean, I
means
was
I
making like
sent the
$2 a week.
bonuses wrong.
Oh,
I was calculating $2,500 an hour. So am I wrong about that?
how do you feel about Stevie Hale?
Oh, that is the worst.
You don't like her?
I don't. She was really good. So here's the history. And is, and I'm gonna try to be as fair as I can because at the end of the day, I do want the. She was really good for the first like month, maybe 2 months, when Peters brought her in as a assistant to him.
Right.
The moment he took his eyes off her, she went from very useful to like being, I don't know, just a lot of unfortunate traits. Underlinedly, she was there was a lot of, she was sort of like on the fringe of a lot of drama around like Moss and Trig and this whole thing that we're dealing with for like a month where bad things were happening in the city, and she spent more time like with his brain damage, Trig's brain damage, than like dealing with
Oh, okay.
really bad things, right? But the
Yep.
big thing that makes me very untrusting, and this Trig falls into this boat as well, is Hades. I don't know if you know this, but back in November, December, Hades got mag dumped. There was a Fleeca bank. They demanded a sandwich. It's a he said, she said situation as to was Hades demanding more cop response, or did they just demand food for an individual that was starving? But somehow that led to a 78's call, right? And there was an authorization to breach the bank.
Okay.
Ray recognized that shit was getting spicier than was intended, right? And because he's over here, and at least in his mind, and Ray does lie sometimes, right? So maybe he did try to ask for a bigger response. Maybe he just wanted a sandwich and that was part of his demands and it was misread. Either way, the breach didn't happen, and Ray's just like, take the hostage, we're leaving. They get in the car and the vehicle was mag dumped with them in it, right?
Oh, wow.
Now, the further background is Ray called me and he's like, what the fuck is going on, PD? We're going to start setting up ambushes on them. Typical like gang response, right? Because they're like, this is bullshit. I recognize it, right? And this isn't the first time a group has said that to me. Also not the first time I said, Ray, do it the right way because you mag dump them. They're going to say, we're in the right. See, they were going to do it anyways, right? It justifies over escalation because you end up doing what they're claiming you are. So I convinced him to do it the right way. They brought it to court. This is back November, December, right? Finally, the court case happens. Then now the civil case opens up in February. And due to scheduling conflicts, mostly from the PD side, they kept saying, can't come. They finally did a deposition with Stevie and Trig. I was at the deposition. Bear in mind, back when this first happened, when I tried to get Stevie and Trig, this is where the drama started with me and Moss. Right. I wanted them to just sort it out. Like, what happened? I need to know. This is bad. Stevie tells me she made the order to shoot. She told me that. I also know, and I can't say their names, other officers that were on the call said Stevie made the call on radio. They're too afraid of, they don't want to get in the middle of it, but they're not gonna, but they told me directly, yeah, she made the call. I remember. In court, she implied she quote unquote trusts her officers and that she wasn't the one that made the decision. So I sat there, and to me, that's like a major red flag because mistakes happen. Yes, agreed. Mistakes happen. I've done bad shit. Other cops do bad shit. Even justices, like, you know what I mean? Like, or like all of us.
I mean, even mostly justices.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see what you're saying.
To save face over a civil suit where you're not going to lose anything other than like your PD's budget, to pretend you had no involvement, to me, like, it's like you're cooked. You're like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That goes into the bucket of like Riker and company in my eyes. But
interesting.
Yeah. Okay. But then again, maybe, I don't know. I don't know. It's it may be worth asking Tony as well. He was the lawyer in the thing. But I was genuinely shocked. I was just, because there was one thing to be like justifying, hey, we thought this and that. No, the entire argument, and to be fair, Trig was right there with her, is unfortunately, and this is a problem with some cops, is that I feel like when they go to court, they're afraid. You know when a defense attorney is going to come up with reasons as to like, oh, how do you know this happened? How do you know this didn't happen, right? For me, it's like cops doing that is kind of strange, right? Because you're sort of hiding the truth of the matter, and to me, that's pretty corrupt. So
yeah, 100%.
So there's my tilder.
Okay. Tilder.
Yeah. So
Murphy came up with a good name for the bill. It was like a what was it, timeline for legislation decision review or something like that for the Bill Act.
Stir?
So you could call it no TLDR.
Oh, wait, for the bill stuff?
Yeah. The whole it's so people don't have to read as much.
Oh shit, that's not a bad idea. I think
I do love my acronyms, you know?
Yeah.
I don't want to get rid of those.
Oh my god.
But
holy
yeah,
shit.
Well, Stevie's not running for sheriff or anything. I was just curious your thoughts because I don't know her very well.
I don't know, that's Pedia's number 2.
Oh my god, Willie. The thing about that is that Peters is the most, like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna pick up Willie Banger. Hi, Willie.
He's the most vibing.
Somewhere?
He probably vibes with your ideology more than anyone else.
A little bit, Willie, but if you need a ride somewhere, I can give you one. Oh my goodness. Okay.
I can't not tell her.
I'll talk to you later, Willie.
Nino can't not tell Princess what he thinks on the matter because he wants her to succeed.
At least I told him I made him the sheriff.
Even if it may...
I don't know if you know who Willie Banger is. He's an old man. He's a little bit, very much...
Willie Banger?
Yeah.
I don't think I've met him before.
He's an old man. He's very dementia kind of guy. But no, of all of... So the thing about Peters, right, in the interviews... Of every interviewee, they were all asked like questions revolving around the mayor asks you to do something.
Yeah.
You know, the mayor says there's something wrong with the department. You need to do something about it. What do you do? Every single candidate said that they would go against the mayor. and would refuse to do what the mayor said.
Even Pred said that, and I was confused as fuck. That was the most shocking answer. It's like, brother, you were mayor.
Are you pulling me over? Again, Duggan? I'm on the phone with Nino. My goodness. Well, he's gonna have to deal with me being on the phone. So, yes, everyone basically said, I accept Duncan. Duncan was good too. Oh no, what happened to you?
Is he intimidating you into making him sheriff?
Well, he's pulled me over at least, once a day for the past 3 days, I think.
What? Wait, what? What the fuck?
He's very efficient. There's no one else in the car with me, Duncan. Yeah. Duncan, what happened? Why do you look injured? You got stabbed in the chest? Oh my goodness, by who?
Yeah, transparently, that was definitely...
Leo Escobar? You know, he interviewed for
Nino, is a very odd statement from Pred. We didn't bring that up yesterday.
Because he shot Andy Fisher in the head. During the
She's getting targeted!
Because Andy Fisher took out a bag of lice in my castle. Which I think is like biological warfare, but apparently that's not worth shooting someone in the head. No. Was I speeding?
Let's do the mayoral vote. Actually, it's been a second. It's not about.
I have my
it's not about same time. It was more of a. It may not have been what he intended to say, but I sat in that interview,
was
right?
It because I nearly
and even
ran
Nino
over
was
Willie Banger
like,
because he was walking
remember
in
sitting
the
there
road?
as Nino and being like, he
Did
said,
you even
"Well,
see
I would
him?
do
That's
it."
your sheriff right there.
Yeah, I was a little like taken aback by that
he's the
because I'm
sheriff.
like,
I made him the sheriff.
this goes against your principles when you were mayor. So, how are you sort of?
Nino Duncan says hi.
Hey, how's my future under sheriff doing? Or under chief? Wait, what is it?
What?
Ass
What do you
chief.
mean? That's your future ass chief?
Well, I mean, you know, if you take Peters, I'm gonna take Duncan.
Well, that's a hell of a trade.
I know, right? I mean, listen, Duncan's a catch.
Duncan's a catch? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Duncan wants to know if you're his best friend or if he's your best friend, you know.
I am probably Duncan's best friend because I do acknowledge him.
Nino says he's your best friend, Duncan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nope, I'm not impaired. I appreciate it. Are you? You look physically impaired. Were you stabbed in?
I think Peters as sheriff would be really good.
Okay.
Yeah, I have my OC opinion and then I have my IC opinion, right?
Yes, I will. Yep.
The thing is, here's the problem, chat. Best is so subjective.
Oh, yes, you can absolutely have a meeting.
Best is so
I'll
subjective.
let you know when I'm free.
It really is. Like, there's reasons that I would say that I think McNulty. Oh my God, there it is.
All right. Talk to you soon, Duncan. He sounded so sad. Sorry about that.
You're good.
He just wanted to welfare check me. I don't really know why.
Oh God. I don't know. You might have a hit on you. You never know.
Well, no, he said I swerved and he wanted to make sure I wasn't impaired.
Oh, shit.
But no, yeah, Peters is the only one who really kind of said... No, Peters and Duncan. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that. Both were the ones who said that they want to... they wanted to hear about my vision for Blaine County and
how do I
wanted
fix
to
this?
work to fulfill that vision, as opposed to kind of everyone else seemed like they thought that. I think there's this tendency to believe that they're like an independent militia.
That is exactly
it's the accounts issue.
I will. You are one. I'm so glad you brought that up yesterday, because it's the same line of thinking I've had this past week over it. I don't think it's a conclusion most people are. most people are not in our position at the end of the day, right? There's something that
Right.
we're going to see that others won't because we have to sit on the outside of everything, right?
Yeah.
I believe that a lot of the damage that Angel did, I still hold it against her. Just it is what it is. That imprinted a lot of people are very impressionable, and it doesn't matter what's written in legislation. She came in as an authority and made statements that people still believe. They still believe that, like, the mayor, there's still members of PD that think that the chief and the sheriff are not employees of the mayor. And that, and I get it to a degree because, like, we know the truth because we've been in the governor meetings, but it's not like we couldn't have lied about it either. You know what I mean?
Right. But also, you know, it doesn't matter what is, like, said legally. If they have the capacity, if they have the ability to hold their budgets over us and essentially have complete autonomy, then they might as well be mercenaries. I mean, it does feel like that. It feels like we hire, you know, mercenaries. We're like, okay, we'll pay you this much an hour, and you do your mercenary job. And they're the ones who decide what that mercenary job is. And they're the ones who, you know, decide how they're gonna go about things, and you know, what weapons they get to use, and what cars they have and stuff like that. They're their own independent militia. We are just the ones that employed, you know, we just hire them as contractors.
Exactly. Yes.
And that's a problem. It also means that they don't interact with the community. You know, like they need to be part of the community. That's why I really want
Princess
BCSO
is like mini Nino now.
more,
I love
like,
this.
attending events and, you know, interacting with the people and even being off duty sometimes. You know, it just they don't feel like Blaine County.
No, that's exactly it. And that is my first beef with BCSO started an hour after I got into office. I want you to picture this for a moment, right? Imagine you become the first mayor, like of the after the Constitution. People vote you in. You learn about what you got your keys. You go into the office. You sit down, and BCSO is knocking on your door as you're talking to your chief of police, Barrick. And they come in, and for the past 6 weeks, you spend 300 hours, no joke, listening to each and every cop, what their problems are, people and stuff. And, like, the entire time you're hearing, we need faster cars. We need faster cars. And they come into the office, and they're like, we want interceptors, and we're going to do highway patrol. And this is before people have tuner cars. And I say, let me think about it. And they get mad. I said, write down your points. And I had to scream at them. At the end of the day, that's where the war started. It's been like that from the beginning. And now they got it all. Right? It doesn't matter. Even LSPD, same thing, right? Like, if we say no, they say, well, we can just play nice because it doesn't matter anyways. Because even if you drop their pay all the way to the bottom, what's that going to do? They still get their money. They still get their toys. It's like, imagine we ran a gang, right? And it's the same thing, right? Instead of robbing May's bank, we're robbing people.
Yeah.
It's the same. I don't know.
I don't like the way that things are operated right now. This is why I'm doing the surveys, though, because I think that there is a very vocal population. Whether it's a vocal minority, I've yet to figure out, but I don't know how. And you know, forgive me for saying this, right? Because I know that you have problems with BCSO. I know Grayson has problems with BCSO. I know that there's people who have significant problems with BCSO. And I've asked some, like, just general people around, you know, people who are maybe criminals who interact with BCSO. And kind of for the most part, what I've gotten is like, yeah, they're cops. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect me. They haven't done anything crazy. And so that's why I want to get a better sense of whether this is, you know, obviously there's administrative issues, like in their.
Are you sure you didn't talk to the Saints?
No, I didn't talk to the Saints.
Okay.
No, I was actually, it was like Chaos Legion, Blaine County groups, with raiders and stuff.
Oh, you should talk to Mayhem.
Okay, I could talk to Mayhem, but I've already been told by Flops that I should get Kyle Pratt as the sheriff.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Well, they're veterans together. Flops.
Yo, Smokey,
Flops
they got
nonstop about,
17 months.
his time on Sanguine, and he's like, oh, Kyle Pratt.
I think what you're doing is very smart because you're not wrong, right? You're doing due diligence because even like when I do things, I recognize San Andreas, everything is embellished, right?
Yeah,
and
for sure.
sometimes what people tell you is going to be embellished, right?
Well, and even if it's not, like I would be more happy to, let's say, BCSO, their big issue is with authority. Like they are really awful when it comes to talking to the mayors, working with LSPD, stuff like that.
Meditation
but they're
with the
actually
pride.
great for the civilians. And it's just a hypothetical, right?
Yeah.
If the civilians are great, but they've got issues with authority, I'm happier to deal with an anti-authority agency if they're going to be good for the civilians. But if they're bad for the civilians, then something needs to change.
I agree wholeheartedly, to be honest. I think that's a good way to look at it. Because at the end of the day, like, if you're a crimer, it's hard to even, like, weigh necessarily, right? I don't know. I'll give you my hottest take, since we're on the topic. I think Ruby Chief, McNulty Ass Chief, is probably your most stable picks. However, those picks, oops.
Why are you underwater?
I went to my island.
Oh, you have an island?
Yeah, I've kind of claimed it as my own. It's like this big island with like, nobody comes over here. It's like, it's away from everything.
Wait, which one is it? Is it the big one by the one by Palomino Highlands?
It's by Shenandoah Mount Range.
Shenandoah Mountain Range.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think at the end of the day, Ruby.
Oh, I see which one you're talking
Ruby
about.
has her like her. Everyone has their pros and cons, right?
I thought you had an issue with Ruby.
Me? No, we get. I think we get along pretty good.
Someone in my cabinet, I think, was mentioning when we were doing our debrief that like you became mayor to prevent Ruby from being the chief or something.
No.
I became about that?
What happened was there's a couple things that led me to be mayor. Ruby was a big part of it. And it is one of her downfalls is that she has the same problem that Maxwell does and as Ventura does, as Aspen does, is that a lot of cop leaders treat their hires like they're babies, right? And I say it straight to Maxwell all the time. I'm like, oh my God, my poor little Frosty can do no wrong. Like literally Frost shot me in the stomach and Maxwell tried to say it was my fault he shot me. Like it's cooked. But no, what happened was is a whole thing where I tried to get a FOIA for a victim, which was Fiona Stewart, who was forced into the bank by then Sheriff Bones and then Mayor / Dictator Max Thoroughbred. And she wanted to get like compensation. They forced her to be a hostage, right? And so it was just a normal, it was probably going to be a simple like case. They wouldn't produce the FOIA for me, and Ruby tried to prevent me from getting the FOIA, and it was so cooked because I tried to work with them. I'm like, listen, guys, we need a better system. Like, I need to be able to do my job. Like, so it was from that. That was like she was one of the key components at the time, but that was more. She was the face to a very authoritarian regime at the time, right? Because keep in mind, like, Max turned into a dictator. He effectively took the police department and tried to get his personal revenge against, like, Chang Gang or anyone else that, like, went against them, right? So there was a very them versus us mentality they were coming off of. I can't hold anyone on their past. I have since seen Ruby take Shift 2, and I think run it well. I think she should be captain over Redditch, who's a dumb fuck and completely useless at the same level as Trig. I don't know why they remain in those spots. It's very clear to me that Ruby is the reason that Shift 2 is even functioning, while Raditch is just a Make-A-Wish hire by Moss, who literally brought him in as a captain because he failed as a sheriff, and she felt bad. But that's like kind of the entire tenure of Moss towards the last, you know.
Well, he was actually still on Mumble's list as potential sheriffs, and then and then he transferred.
Raditch is a very nice guy. I like him as a person. As a leader, he has the smallest backbone. It's like a toothpick. You know what I mean? He doesn't make any decisions. He's, in fact, of the decisions he did make, and this is one of the most egregious ones, is that he bent to Romello, which is the BCSO guy. Romello quit TRT, comes back after 2 weeks, and then him and Romello decide, without actually having a conversation with high command, right? They'll claim they had a conversation. What happened is they made some dog shit document titled like TRT brainstorm. I forgot what the exact title was. And they decided they wanted to completely redo TRT. And everyone woke up to losing their TRT certs. So, which is egregious. And to me, that's like, you shouldn't be a leader, right? You need to let people know you're going to do this. It's
the thing is, also, you say it's egregious, but at the same time, that's what a lot of people are wanting me to do to BCSO. Like, just put everyone back. Oh my god, there's Charles is here. Just put everyone back down to deputy. Like, you know, nothing.
There's a difference, though. The difference is, like, you're planning to do all these things, and then you wake up the next day without notice, learning you've lost your job. It's like going to work and you're laid off. The difference is that people know you are very vocal about what you're planning. It's not coming in as a shock. They know that you're going to have to work back to it. But when you just lay someone off as a...
I'm not I haven't given anything away as to who I'm picking as sheriff and what they're going to do.
Yeah.
I am leaving people in the dark currently, but I mean, I don't actually know what I'm going to do.
Well, and when you do, I imagine you're going to communicate that, and that's kind of like the key bit, right? So it's more for me, the egregiousness is the lack of communication and people waking up and being told, "Take that vest off." Like, that's a yikes to me. You know what I mean? Yeah. As opposed to hey, new sheriff is in play. You know, we've been evaluating for the last 2 weeks. You know, whatever the sheriff decides, or like the same thing with the chief. You know, and this is what we're going to be doing. So people can plan for it. It kind of like they know it's coming, right?
Right.
But I don't know why we got on this topic. Yeah, no, I don't have a problem with Ruby. I think she's very good. I think her negative is that she's gonna do what Ruby thinks, and so she may be.
Yeah,
but
seems like that's a lot of them.
Yeah, that is a general issue, right? Turner is a dime a dozen. Peters is a dime a dozen. Even McNulty, he is likely going to do what McNulty wants to do, right?
Oh, yeah.
Not what the people want, not what their mayor wants, right?
Yeah.
But you pick Ruby and McNulty, they will have a very solid sheriff's department. At the end of the day, it's like, which kind of flavor of pie do you want, right?
I guess, but I don't know if I want pie or cake. That's the thing. I think if I pick someone from outside of BCSO is going to riot no matter what. And so the only way that I would go outside of BCSO is if I'm going to shake things up for real. You know, I'm not going to pick someone who is like, I think I could find, not saying anything against Ruby, but I could find a Ruby in BCSO.
Have you interviewed Brian Knight yet?
Great. Who?
It's that war hero.
War hero? I don't know.
Jokes.
I interviewed Kyle Pred.
Yeah. You were
there for that.
Wait, I'm sorry?
I said I interviewed the war hero. I interviewed Kyle Pred.
Oh, my Lord.
I think that Ruby is too tame a choice for how much backlash it would be. If I'm gonna get backlash, I'm gonna get all the backlash. You know, that's why for
you're
me,
gonna get backlash
I
regardless. But yeah.
Well, I think if I wanted to compromise and pick the option that BCSO will be okay with, but at the same time would potentially, create some level of accountability, I would pick McNulty. That's the compromise choice. I think that he would be great. I think that his issue to me is that he is very. Do you know the terms low context or high context for society? Like societies that are low context or high context.
No, what is that?
It's a way of it's a anthropology thing, I think, but it has to do with whether a society is more generally, like very laid back body language, informal kind of like
Wait, I got an
equatorial
idea.
societies
Yeah.
versus like societies like cold societies like Germany or Russia, where it's very I tell you what I mean, you know, uh, take it or leave it. I'm saying things bluntly. I'm not going to rely on you understanding, my sort of body language and stuff. McNulty is very low
Mm.
context, which means to me that he is very good at solving issues if someone comes to him and says, I have an issue, but I don't think that
Mm.
he's going out and, you know, looking at BCSO and thinking, "Oh, these people seem dissatisfied," or like there's a clearly a
Mm.
conflict going on here. He's not going to solve any issues or change things unless someone comes to him and says, "This needs to be changed."
I am very tainted with McNulty, keep in mind. So I'm not going to say too much. I'll tell you the why. Because he was on my list of chiefs, and I have not spoken to him too much outside of that, so I don't know how much has changed since then. But
He didn't want things to change, right?
for me, the red flag back then, because Ruby did apply, and at the time, now keep in mind, this is 9 months ago, is I was never going to accept Ruby because she was part of the old regime, and I wanted her to cook under a new vision so that I could see how she functioned, right? And she did apply for chief, and I pretty much said no. It's the key reason, actually, Vivian, who was my number one choice, had the offer taken away because it wasn't, at the time, for full context, I said, I see you as the only option, but I still need to talk to folks, but I need you to tell me who your ass chief is, and here are the people I do not want. And she ended up wanting Ruby anyways, which went against my entire platform and reason for why I was doing what I was doing. In lieu of all this, during this time period, I'd actually asked McNulty multiple times if he was willing to be the chief of police. At the time, he said no. But it was one of those like, no, but if you tell me I got to do it, then I'm going to do it, with like a smirk. Like, like almost like I needed to give it to him sort of thing. I can't really tell. It was couldn't read him. But when word got around that I was going to take a more extreme approach, which is starting to interview outside of the existing law force,
Right.
all of a sudden, McNulty went from saying no to I then learned that he was encouraged by Ruby to take the job to maintain the status quo. Now, and so when I confronted him about it, I'm like, why do you want it all of a sudden? He was pretending he never said no in the first place. So where I'm going with all this is the danger you would have is it's hard for me to look at McNulty and be like, he's not going to tell me what I want to hear just so he can wake up every day and get in his interceptor and just, catch criminals. Which I know sounds bad, but, I'm going to, that's,
Yeah.
like I said, I'm
And
biased, right?
no, yeah, I totally see that. And
Yeah.
here's the thing is that McNulty even said during his interview that he's not loyal. Like, he said that,
Oh.
he swapped departments to BCSO because he wanted to keep his call sign. He wanted tree, tree, tree. And the thing is, I know he says he's not loyal, but he's one of the few BCSO deputies who really patrols Blaine County. Like, I
That
don't
is
think he's
true.
loyal necessarily in the sense of I'm never gonna switch departments no matter what, but he seems very loyal in the sense of if I'm in this department now, I'm going to do what this department is intended to do, and I'm going to be the best, BCSO deputy that I can because that's my
Mm,
job.
mm,
And I that's why I kind of like the idea of him uh absolutely in command 100%. But I considered potentially that he would make a really good undersheriff or sheriff just because I know he has that vision of BCSO is meant to be patrolling Blaine County, is meant to be part of the Blaine County, you know, community and is meant
mm.
to uh act like they're Blaine County. But I don't want to it's a risk. I guess the risk with McNulty is that I would have to push him to do anything, and the risk with Peters is that I would have to pull him back.
Micromanagement versus, yeah.
Other micromanagement.
The more you talk about it, the more I actually think you're right about McNulty. He is married / engaged to
Oshira?
I actually think she'd be the best sheriff. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't give
Oshira?
a. I think she's amazing, personally.
Really?
Oh yeah,
I had her on the panel. She attended all of the interviews. And she's been giving me her notes on it because I figure she's kind of got every side of the situation. Like she knows, she knows things from the law enforcement side, she knows things from the criminal side, she knows things from the marshal side. So yeah, she went to all the interviews, but then herself made the decision. I told her she didn't have to, but she made the decision to sit out for McNulty's interview because she thought she would be too biased.
Ashira, I've spent way too much time with cops. Ashira has a lot of qualities most people wish they had in San Andreas. One is she's a leader. Number two, she has principles, which is such a rare trait, right? Like most people's principles are bank truck or shoot criminals, like just straight up.
Yeah.
She actually has principles and conviction, which I think is good.
When she got fired, or rather when
Quit.
she resigned from the marshals.
Yep.
Yeah, she quit. Because we had been talking prior to that, she texted me saying like, "Don't trust any of the cops. They can't be trusted. They've all got their whatever. They're all corrupt and stuff." So I don't know. I'm sure she's been through every side of things, and
I don't think
I guess my concern with Oshira honestly has to do with how. I guess it's a different issue that I would have with it than you would have with it, but I think we both maybe have the same kind of trepidation about the fact that she is very caught up in a lot of
extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is how I kind of. There's a lot of things that, I'll be open about it. Disclaimer, obviously we don't know what anyone's actually thinking, right?
Right.
A lot of it's so speculative. But I spoke to Ashira a lot. She actually spoke to me a couple hours before she resigned. And I had an idea that she may have done something. She didn't just say it straight up, but I could.
She got suspended right before she resigned.
Even before the suspension, leading up to it. So there was many conversations leading up to it, and then conversations after she quit. And then I even spoke to her as much as 3 days ago, something like that. And the impression that I got was that underlinedly she went from PD, from LSPD to BCSO to the marshals with her core, one of her principled factors being people, people first, right? Context of what's transpiring, right? And a lot of it had to do with faceless and bones and like the things she was looking into and the situations that she was put into. And for me, a key component to all of that was being able to take in the context of what's happening instead of looking at things black and white, right? And in lieu of that, she felt that her own investigation she was being pushed in a direction where she had to make choices not based on the various scales of colors, but rather look at things in a very black and white fashion, right? Like the notion of like, just put Norman Bones in handcuffs type of thing.
Right.
And that those circumstances may have led her to do something she may now regret. Now, I do not...
Like meeting with those guys off duty?
Hi
again, stop swimming.
Hey, sorry about that. Yeah, no, I'm running around. I keep falling into the thing.
Oh.
I've only been told that and pieced together that she may have like been the reason that things got disclosed. But it's mostly been from like I heard this from high command. And is it bad? Yes. But I don't know the why, right? I don't know the what.
Yeah.
I don't know if it even was, right? Like if someone shoots someone unarmed, that's a pretty black and white. I don't know what was allegedly leaked. Was it bad? Was it even a leak? Was it the intention to garner information? I don't know. It's such a, like a, you know what I mean? Like I've been battling to get those, but I only hear like yes and no's. And having spoken to her recently, the impression that I got from it is, I don't know. I'm very pro Ashira at the end of the day.
Okay.
But at the same time, there could be resentment she has towards the entire ideology of the police force that may end up clouding her judgment.
For sure.
But I don't know.
No,
What do you
I agree
know?
with that.
I feel like
What do I know?
Yeah.
About Oshira?
Yeah, you said something about her meeting with people.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was the one, this was, I guess, this was actually, I think right after she quit. No, it was before she quit. It was when she was maybe suspended, but I was driving around on Mount Gordo and, happened upon a meeting between her and the one they call Pestilence.
Dr. Smith, the scientist?
Yeah, that guy. And they were meeting together, and you know, that was something that was not like an on-duty thing. So that was concerning a little bit. And that was also the day after, what concerned me is that was the day after her sister had been shot by someone, or rather stabbed by someone, and had gotten sick.
And her sister being
was
the
Sooty.
Sooty. Oh.
So Sooty was stabbed by someone, and Pestilence, Dr. Smith, was there when that happened, and then Sooty was sick the next day. And then I was driving around and found Oshira meeting with Dr. Smith on the mountainside, and that's why I was a little bit concerned that, like, okay, is she, you know, for one thing, there was a very strange aspect of that. I know you don't believe in any of this stuff, but Sooty told me that...
I believe in it, just not that it's supernatural, I guess.
Right.
Yep.
Well, Sooty told me that she wasn't sick after she got stabbed, but then when she went into surgery, you know, for a stab wound, she came out of surgery and was sick, but her wound had healed at like an insanely fast rate, like a weirdly fast, not normal rate. And so my concern had to do with, okay, well, what did Oshira talk to Dr. Smith about, and how might that have been involved in Sooty being sick but also healing extremely fast from, you know, her stab wound, which the stab wound issue was, you know, she was stabbed specifically instead of Oshira.
Oh.
So I was wondering if she did something to prevent Sooty from dying. That's
With
my thing. I
no,
don't know.
I know for sure it had more to do with faceless stuff. Yeah. So much of this is shrouded in mystery. It's crazy. And
I mean, would she have known about like the document? Because somehow that got leaked.
Which one?
The classified document.
It's you mean the book we got from Doc?
Yes. That
I
got
don't
leaked
think
because
so.
that's why.
I think that guy I think that got leaked by PD. Like
Really? Well, PD didn't.
yeah.
The only people who had it were
There was
Aspen and I guess it was probably Aspen.
See, this is part of my calculus, right? And maybe this is why I'm more defensive to Ashira, because then maybe I should be, to be honest. There's like a deep, like a part of me that knows a lot more about this, that I've tried to give information to the marshals for months, and usually that would be Dark, and instead of him taking information, he looks at me like I'm being sussy, right? And it's shit, because I don't want to work with them anymore, right? Because
I've stopped working with them.
It's like we have a common goal. I don't have the things and tools you do. If I come across it, it's my duty to let law enforcement know. Luckily, Barrick has like changed and that's why I work well with him, is he doesn't treat me like one of the others. Dark has that like them versus us mentality, and it's frustrating. And through that lens, it's hard for me not to think Ashira is not that different from I am. In that sense, is it possible that she, as a marshal that doesn't sit in a fucking room all day, interact with folks, come across things, get put in a situation where it's not put your hands up, I'm gonna shoot if you run type situations, where you have to make very delicate situations in the moment, weighing pros and cons, and did that bite her. I do know that the leak was definitely more along the lines of faceless, from the little bit I've been told from various folks. Now, keep in mind, it's still speculatory, given that no one has told me directly. But I also know that shortly after we were given those books, that information was kind of already out there, right? And if some of those things are already out there, it's very easy for someone to say, I know. Imagine you knew evidence A through G, and I called you up, and you were a cop, and I was like, hey, you know the thing about A, B, and C? And you're like, oh, yeah. You mean with D, E, and F? It's like, haha, you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like
100%.
easy to unlock the rest.
Well, you'd think that if they had all the information, the Faceless wouldn't have, had someone come kidnap me and steal my wedding ring to ransom for the document, but that still happened. You remember when my wedding ring got stolen?
I vaguely remember something about this.
I was kidnapped. They took nothing except my wedding ring and my diary, and then I got a call the next day being like, if you want your wedding ring and your diary back, you're gonna have to call, or you're gonna have to give the classified marshal dossier about the Faceless. That's what they said, those words exactly. And I said, obviously no, because it's a wedding ring. I don't really care that much. But I, found out more later, because since I didn't tell, apparently the Faceless asked someone else to get the information from me by any means necessary, but that person luckily
They wanted that book that we had?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And you want to know something crazy?
Yeah.
You know who it was that actually did the kidnapping? Who kidnapped me? I didn't find this out until a couple days ago. Remedy Creed.
Shut up. Really?
Yep.
You know she wanted to be mayor?
I know. And she backed Marty. I never understood why she didn't like me because I've never really had a conversation with her. But then, like I've never talked to her, but she has always had it out for me. I have never understood why. And now I kind of get it, kind of, or at least, I feel like now I guess there's some, I still don't know why really, but yeah, that was her. And she's the one who, called me then the next day and basically said, like multiple times over the course of the, she's like, you gotta stop trusting people, or like, people are, the world's a harsh place and stuff like that. And very, kind of, what do they say now? It's emo. Sounded very emo about it. But yeah, I mean, so she's working on that.
What the fuck?
And this is a totally unrelated thing, but kind of made me upset, is that, she does her racing tournament stuff. She was doing a race in Blaine County, and the, McNulty, I guess, stopped her before the race started and was like, is this race sanctioned and stuff? And she said, yeah, Mayor Elena told me that we could do it. So McNulty called me, and I was like, I have literally never heard from her. Like, she has never talked to me about this once. And I ended up just saying that they could do it because I didn't want to, like, I didn't want to actually ruin people's fun when they were doing a race.
Yeah.
But that was really annoying to me. That was not
Yeah.
in good faith at all. She just totally lied.
Remedy, it would be good for you and Remedy to hopefully reconcile, especially if there's not. Remedy, I think, is fantastic for a massive segment of the city. I think she's definitely on the reckless side, right? I mean, given the fact that, she was going to run for mayor and so do crime stuff. And I say that more in that there are bigger enemies that everyone is facing, and not the ghosts that they think are the real problem, right? Like, so.
Well, I mean, ghost aside, the faceless doesn't seem like ghost stuff. That just seems like.
Well, I don't mean
big
like
guns, so we're willing to work on for that person.
I meant more like there's bigger, like for me, like.
Yeah.
There's still like a belief, for example, that I have an issue with, like, for example, Marty interviewed Ventura, and I called Marty separately because I noticed he was around, and he goes, oh, yeah, I'm talking to Ventura right now. Nino, why do you hate Ventura? And I was like taken aback by that because I was like, I don't think we, like 3 months had passed, and pretty much ever since Turner was put in place, like, I thought our relationship was building. And I'm like, wait, I was like, Marty.
You did tell me that if I fired him, you'd give me Shumash.
Well, yeah, but this is after this incident that I'm telling you about.
Okay.
And so he brought that up to me, and I was like taken aback, and I'm like, I haven't had a confrontation with Ventura for 3 months, and if anything, I've picked him up in my own vehicle to, like, get his opinion on things, try to build bridges. And so, and I'm like, immediately I was like, bro, is this motherfucker Ventura talking shit about me? I learned afterwards he thought I'm still on a dome cap. And I called Ventura up and I confronted him. I'm like, do we have issues? And the short answer was yes. And that he still has PTSD over how bad it was the first 2 terms and how miserable it was for everyone. And I'm sitting back and I'm like, you did this.
The whole Saints thing, right? Like he's married to a Saint.
Yeah, but even his wife and I are good. She says hi now. When I barely used to interact. Oh God.
Do you have a bag of rice? I think you're gonna need to put your phone in a bag of rice after this.
I got one of those. I got one of those waterproof cases.
Oh, okay.
No, like I barely spoken
Cassie fully said, I don't know if you guys are on good terms, like cordially.
Yeah.
But she refused to vote at all because she didn't want to have to vote for you or party.
That's crazy. I think there's levels to it because she's been very. She probably heard wind of me talking shit about the, way back when. Because, I remember I call up and, hey, I want to tell you about my case. Like, what do you want, We're not going to do this. you did this, and I'd be like, no, da 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 da, da. And she'd be like, we're not going to do this right now, and hang up. It was very odd, right? But I get it, right? They're married. But of recently, like, you know, she's been very cordial. Like, I don't hold grudges. I think some people do, right?
Yeah,
is what it is. So when I said the Ventura thing, I say it tongue in cheek. I personally,
no, I know, but I'm still trying to think about how to get him to resign, just so
Ventura?
that I can then use that to tell you to give me Shumash.
Yeah, that would be. I would do it out of spite, simply because he has spite, and at the end of it, he still believes that his department is in the right to be able to operate independently from the rest of the state.
Well, you know, oh my God, Duncan. Well, if my sheriff choice causes Ventura to quit, I'm gonna ask for Shumash.
Wait, if you get what to
Mostly
do?
as a joke. If he quits, I'm asking for Shumash.
I'm gonna, yeah. I mean, listen. Where were we? Why did we bring up Ventura? I don't remember where we.
Grudges, remedies.
Remedy.
Stuff.
Yeah, the point I was trying to make is, like, I think sometimes some situation will happen, and for some people that is the end, like that they will hold on to that situation.
I can maintain cordiality with people.
Yeah.
I can maintain civility no matter what. It won't, forgive but don't forget. I will not remember, or I will not forget the fact that she kidnapped me and stole my wedding ring on behalf of someone that she may not even know because she thought maybe she could get guns out of it. Like, that's not something I'm just going to easily forget, and I will recall that in the future. Just like I recalled that Helen, may have negative feelings towards me, and so I'm not going to 100% trust her.
Oh my God. Oh, never mind. I was about to refract.
What?
Nothing.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what refracting is, right?
Refracting? Like a light?
When you... I thought there was something I was going to tell you, and then I realized it wasn't my it wasn't my memory.
Got it.
Yeah,
I don't think that's refraction, but maybe.
I don't know. That's a phrase I've heard people use. Yeah, like a out of body. Never mind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You astral projected?
Yeah, it's kind of like it kind of felt like I don't know.
I'm gonna have to have a conversation with a war hero, I guess. But that's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Anyway. I'm sheriff stuff. That's happening.
Yeah.
Can decide after I see the survey results. Then I'm getting the round table put together. Yeah. And I'm excited for the Grayson stuff.
Yes. I think I'm gonna try to get. I needed a day after hopefully this bill thing gets passed. I think it will.
I don't see why not. I don't think that they'll understand it enough to actually think it's unconstitutional.
Agreed. And then I think the next thing on my agenda is I'm gonna get Michael. Let's just fucking full send it on taking the budget.
Yeah, I'm super down for that.
Then
is that something that even needs legislation if it's not currently legislated?
Well, technically that's a great point, but we can that's an easy lift. That's not a lot of writing. The judicial one, I think, is a bit of writing. Yeah. I think the bar association, a bit of writing.
So like, obviously, we could. Of writing. Do you want me to do the budget one? Just to spread out the work a little.
No, it's fine. I think these ones we've already got like starting to cook. When I'm kind of like lining these up, I'm more sort of like underlining like, yeah, we have an idea what we want to do with the judge one, right? But I think, and this includes you, is that I think we got to sit down and like really hammer it because like, yes, it's easy to say, hey, let's have a legislation that says this is how new judges get justices come in place. We want magistrates to have a, like a way to become judges without like a vote and other things like that. But what does that look like, right? Like, in other words, it's not just an exercise of writing. It's like we got to sit down and really go through the scenarios, right? So we don't end up writing something that becomes problematic, I guess.
Right. And I want to also just ask for the budget, the police budget stuff. Do you think that's there's a possibility of including in that the concept of uh, the divide for fines? Like the fines don't go
to the budget.
75% DOJ and 25%
I think
because that's gonna have to be part of it.
You're making a really good point. And I'm gonna say what I told Michael is this is one of the reasons why the bills are gonna be important because they're like, for example, Michael had baked in a bunch of other stuff in this bill legislation, and he was in the mindset of like, oh, we need these things too. But we all know that when we put in too many ideas at once in a singular piece, that's more points of contention. And so instead, we should do it, send one and then send the other. So if one of them gets stuck in like limbo, not all of it gets stuck in limbo. You know what I mean? So there's another reason why I think we might want to chill a little bit on that is I agree in principle. However, the state is still trying to figure out what they're going to do with the marshals and the DOJ.
Right.
And because of that, look,
But if we get the accounts, like if those start going to us, then that would still mean because the 75% DOJ stuff that can right,
yeah.
But the police are still getting the 25% of fines. But if that's going to an account that we want to be the ones accessing,
yeah,
that's all I'm asking is if we get like if we change the budget,
that will go to the county.
Those accounts will go to us. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
And that can honestly, I'm looking at the Powers and Definitions of Law Enforcement Act.
Yeah.
It could honestly be added as an amendment to that or through the bill process, like as a change to
Agreed.
That act, because the act doesn't actually lay out how the police are paid and anything about their budgets. I don't think there is legislation on that, right?
Agreed. Yes. I see what you're saying. I think that's the beauty of the bill. Like, hell, we could get rid of the bank account. I would say we should get rid of the bank account legislation in general and move those points to a document that expands like there's a bunch of ways we can chop it up, but I do agree with you.
What, you mean the authority bank accounts or like
like
just those in general or the police bank accounts?
The police bank, like I think like the language about what the bank accounts are, who they belong to, that entire legislation is just it's very little in there for an entire document. It could probably be more moved into more appropriate places. And
I didn't even realize that the police department and sheriff's office have their accounts listed in the legislative authority bank accounts. So that's, I guess, the legislative backing for all this.
Yes.
So that would have to be changed. No, it says each authority may create their own internal rules with how the accounts may be accessed and funds divested. But then B says these guidelines shall be maintained by the highest authority within each respective authority/department. Does that mean that we are the highest authorities within the police departments, and so we should have the right to just do it?
Yep. I mean, that document is up to some level of interpretation, but at the end of the day, constitutionally, you and I run our counties. The PD works for us. That money belongs to us. We're just accepting the fact that the PD's taking the money. And therefore, if we want it changed, it's like snap of the finger. And honestly, nothing's going to stop us. People could like complain, cry about it. But the worst thing that will happen realistically is Nakota wakes up from his slumber, gets real upset, drinks his whiskey, gets on a fishing boat and writes a contest against it. But it would end up going in our favor just because of the constitutional writing. So,
Yeah. So is that something that you can handle and I'll co-sign, or did you want me to do something with that?
No, yeah, we'll cook it. Yeah, I got it. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Is there anything that
Easy.
you need me to do to? I want to, I don't want to put everything on you and Michael.
I think it's fine because it's in the same realm of stuff that we were already working on. So, but once I think you've got all the sheriff stuff done, we can start talking more about how to slice it up. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So
after sheriff stuff, I'm going to be focused primarily on the round table. I'm going to try to get that done within like 5 days ish. But
oh, easy.
I want to have a whole group of representatives that come to me with any issues about their specific areas.
Okay. Oh yeah. All right. Well, this was a great phone call. I think the phone call went over an hour, given the timestamp on this thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. All right.
Could have been a meeting, or wait, no, it's email. Could have been whatever. Could have been what it's not, but it is.
My biggest advice I'll leave you on is, as someone that brought an outsider in and had them run the PD, a lot of good came out of that. And no matter what choice you make, whether it's McNulty, whether it's Peters, whether it's any person, people are always going to be bad. People are always going to threaten. But at the end of the day, they can suck a dick because you're the boss. So, and
That's
eventually, the most people are going to be happy. And usually those that cry the loudest are usually the minority. So, you know.
I really appreciate that,
Yep,
Nino. It's a good bit of advice.
All right.
All right. Well, I'll let you get back to swimming or something.
Yep. All right.
Talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.